everyone, and welcome to All Things STEM with Ashley. Today we have our guest, Dequies Lanier. Dr. Dequies resides in Atlanta, Georgia. She is passionate about advancing women and girls, empowering them to lead a purposeful life. Dr. Lanier has over 13 years of experience. She has served as a higher education administrator and strategist. She is highly skilled in training and development, operational strategy, and team management. Her lifelong purpose is to enrich the lives of women and to help others. Dr. Dequies is an author, faculty member, researcher, mentor, and a community advocate. So welcome.
Hello.
It's so exciting to meet you. I love everything you do, and I can't wait for you to share everything about your platform on this episode.
Absolutely. It's an honor and a privilege to sit beside you, and I love all that you're doing, Ashley.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get into some questions about you for the audience. So can you share your journey to founding your women's empowerment consulting and coaching agency, and what inspired you to take that leap?
Yes. All right. I am super excited to share this story, and it is one for the ride. I think that I would love for women to understand, and all of your listeners out there, I refer to women a lot because that's my dominant, audience and just who I work with so often. But I think I would encourage them to ultimately be okay with the discomfort. That's how I got started.
Yeah.
So I have spent I would say, first half decade of my career in higher education. And I love what I do. But in that, I've seen so many different phases of my career and how it has transformed over time. And once you've been in an industry for quite a bit of time, there are seasons, like with anything in life, even in your personal life, there are seasons. Mm-hmm. There are those seasons where things are all the way up. There are those seasons where they feel a little low. And then there are seasons where it's just kind of plateau. You don't really feel like nothing's happening. Like, what are my goals? What should I be doing right now? I don't really feel like I have much that I have going on and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it got to be a point in my career where nothing was perhaps necessarily just dreadfully wrong. I think we all go through a series of things in our career that are like growing pains, So there are good days and there are bad days. That's what I mean by that. But ultimately, there got to be a point where I was feeling lack internally of, am I truly doing enough?
Right.
I loved what I was doing and pouring into college-aged kids as well as adult learners. I work with both audiences, and I found purpose in that, but I still just felt like I wanted something for self. I wanted legacy. And I think I grew up in a family that instilled that in me, that legacy feeling that, I don't want to just work my way through life.
Yeah,
I want to leave something in life and impact, and not just hitting the next goal, because I can be very goal driven, but I didn't want to just hit the next goal. I wanted to know with every goal that I hit that there's something I'm putting back out there for others, just like others put things out there for me. I had a lot of women in my life who mentored me from Sunday school on up through my education journey. And so I was like, I want to do that. I want to give something. And I felt like I was giving it to the students, in the collegiate world, but I wanted something personally that could be passed down in my family and the generations. So I started out with the podcast, We Sweet Podcast. And at first it was like mini shows that get started, friendship. I started in conversations with my sisterhood. And I just thought, we're having all these good girl chats after church and all these things. Like, we need to be on a mic. We need to share these little gems with people. And then I got cold feet. If you ever recorded yourself and you hear yourself talk for the first time,
Yeah.
I got you. So I was like, I just do this for fun. Never mind. So all of that empowerment I felt, it hit that plateau, and it was like, this is not going to be that. And then I continued, and people heard the show, and it went from my friends to people requesting to be on the show. And that's where things changed. Things changed at that point. And I said, okay, you have all these skills. You've done this for a decade in higher education. You have held various positions. You've served in different ways in your community. Don't be scared. Do it scared.
Yes.
There's so much more that you can do and you know it, but you are afraid. And I don't really like to be seen. I like to lead. I won't deny that. But I do not like to be seen. I rather lead behind the scenes. Well, it got to be the point, and I'm a very, spiritual woman, where I said, okay, God is telling you that you've got to be seen in this season, and it's a little uncomfortable. There's some discomfort, but the discomfort is growth. Mm-hmm. And so there's so much more I could say, Ashley, but I got started with that, which led into me creating my coaching and consultant business down the road. I met all of these amazing women recording the podcast shows, and I just learned that this is not it. You're not just here to talk on the mic and have fun with your girlfriends. Mm-hmm. You're not just here to just give a couple of encouraging words. What do you really want to do when it comes to legacy? Mm-hmm. Your spirituality, and the values you have in life, and what do you leave behind for those in your life, in your family. And to leave something behind, I needed to do more. So that is how We Sweet became business.
That is so beautiful. I'm so glad to hear it. And I'm so glad I found you. So I actually found her on LinkedIn. I saw someone that was a guest and I was like, I love everything she stands for. I think this is perfect with what we want to do with celebrating women and their businesses, their journeys. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dequies, what unique challenges did you face as a Black female founder and how did you overcome them?
Sure. So I think this one is interesting based on the time that we are living in at this point in time. And I think that on the one hand, the birth of social media, the digital world, there's so much out there where you can be self-taught. Mm-hmm. So I would say, first, I want to start with where I did not see a lot of challenge, and then I'll backtrack it to where I did see some challenges. Mm-hmm. I think it is fair to do it like that. So I would say there was enough at my fingertips out there that I could self-teach on certain things. Where I felt challenged is that as a Black female, once you start to vocalize what you're going to do, and I'll come back to vocalizing some things because I think that's important too. But once you start to vocalize what you're going to do, I think that there is a disadvantage sometimes for Black people where help is not always easily given, even once you announce this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, really? Well, why are you getting into that? Mm-hmm. Or why is that important to you? Instead of, oh my goodness, you need to be connected with this person. Let me show you, this contact that I have because they're doing the same thing that you're doing. And there's not this kind of reach out, grab your hand, and let me partner you with someone that can help you not have to spend hours searching online to figure that out, watching YouTube, getting on social media, looking up equipment. Instead of expending so much time and energy doing these things yourself, all the manual labor of it all, there's oftentimes with other demographics where there is a little bit more, hey, don't waste your time doing all that. I know somebody you can talk to. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the disadvantages. Now, again, to be fair, I think as Black women, we have to not be afraid to vocalize that we're doing something, because when you don't speak up, you sort of isolate yourself to have to do it the struggle way, the hard way, the manual labor way. And I think there's a lot that I can really get into, just historically speaking, about that mentality. But to be brief, I think it's just important that we do not see the collective world that we live in as a this group versus this group, or they're not for me, and be okay speaking up, and be okay knowing that there won't always be people to come alongside and grab your hand. But don't let that keep you from speaking up. Right. Because if you speak up enough in the right rooms, the right people, regardless of their demographic or their backgrounds, they will come in and they will grab your hand and they will say, I've got you, here's someone you need to talk to. So lessons learned in that situation specifically is that, yes, as a Black woman, you may not always receive the necessary supports. It may be more scrutiny and judgment of how you decided to do it, or what makes you think you can do it. Just questioning your abilities and your competencies. But don't get stuck in that, because that's people's own projections and fears that are being placed upon you, based on, your perceived worth or value or education level and, economic status level and things of that nature. Instead, keep talking. But then again, spiritual woman here, ask God for discernment to position and place you in the right spaces, in the right rooms.
Yes.
And again, no matter the demographic, the right folks will be there.
Yes, I love it. That's so real.
Yeah.
Very nice. How does your agency specifically empower women, especially in male-dominated fields, including STEM? How do you get to help women with that?
Yes. Oh, like my heart is leaping for joy on this one. So specifically, my agency is built off of a unique framework that I created, and I've published an article on this as well. But that framework is called the Empowered High.
Okay.
So obviously, I love to empower women. We Suite actually stands for Women's Empowerment Suite. The idea is that you come into this powerful suite of women, of sisterhood, of community, of connection. You can let your hair down. You can do it in your blazer. You can do it in your jeans. You can do it in your workout clothes. You can pin up on the couch with your coffee mug or tea, and we exchange ideas, we uplift, and we help one another. But the Empowered High framework, as a whole, it deals with how we reach that empowerment level, the ultimate empowerment level that we want to reach as a community. And the way we do that, and so we have HIGH, that stands for Empowered High, right? So the H is at a humanistic level, which is that bottom of the pyramid. So just imagine the little pyramid level. So that first level is going to be the humanistic approach. And I'll outline these very carefully.
Yeah.
And humanistic is exactly what it sounds like: serving and helping others, coming outside of ourselves to understand people, who they are and what are their needs. And at a ground level, boots on the ground, how do we do the work? So that's going to be the humanistic level, right? And then we get to I, the individualistic level. So after I understand people, what are my strengths? Individualistic, focusing inward on self. Where am I still growing? What am I still learning? What have I learned from being in the community amongst others? And what's my number one gift God has given me to give back out there, right? And then we get to goal. I mentioned this earlier, so there's no doubt that I would say this goal approach. And so the goal approach is, okay, I understand the people. I see where I can fit in to help the people. I know my strengths and what I have to give to this community. But then the next thing are my goals. And not just goals for me, but goals for who I want to serve. Goals for my legacy, my business, goals for my professional career, goals for my home and my family. And as you see, this framework can fit anyone. It's not just a business owner. It can be a mom, and it can be a stay-at-home mom. It can be a daughter. It can be a person serving on ministry in church. So goal approach, you plug in the goals uniquely according to your lifestyle. And again, what you intend to impact, right? And then we get back to the last letter H, H-I-G-H. So at the very top of that pyramid is the word hope. Because no matter what we do in life, as this story started, there's highs, there's lows, there's plateaus. You need hope. You need hope. And if you're going to encourage the people at that fundamental level, at a group community level, you need to be able to, as the leader pioneering these folks, bring them back to a sense of purpose and hope when there are dark days.
Yes.
And I don't want to go too heavy on the various things that are going on in society right now, but through several decades of our living, we are experiencing all types of things in society. We see beautiful things happen over decades. We see hurt, we see wars, we see all kinds of things happening. And when it's the darkest of times, you need hope so people don't give up. And that is how We Suite functions, off of the Empowered High, and how we create sisterhood and community and we help leaders lead well.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So you spoke about mentorship earlier today in the episode. I wanted to ask, what role has mentorship played in your career, and how do you incorporate mentorship into your work with clients?
Sure. So mentorship has played the largest role in my life. Earlier, I mentioned being empowered by women as early as Sunday school as a little girl. From there, it became teachers that I remembered. And a lot of us in school, you may have those teachers that just stick with you.
Yeah.
Things they did, things they said, those that empowered you a lot, those that were very hard on you, that you learned some resiliency in their classes. And so I just had so much of that from grade school through college, and even as a young adult starting my career. There were people that took to me and just pushed and pushed and pushed. And so much of the life that I have and the accomplishments and things that I've done have been because people said there's greater in you.
Yeah.
And even when I may have said, okay, this is comfortable, I could sit doing this for a little while, I was never allowed to sit and be comfortable. I was pushed, and that taught me to be also a push type woman. And I don't really let people get comfortable around me. I challenge them, and I like to be challenged because I see the fruits of what happens when you're pushed. Yeah. And so mentorship for me has played two different roles. On the one hand, I've been mentored, and I see that there's so many things behind the wall. And I want to explain behind the wall. When you are, especially professionally, starting out in life, you are applying for jobs, you are maybe even doing interview practice and tips and things of that nature. You're going to school, you're getting the degrees. That's what's in front of the wall. When you sit down with a VP, when you sit down with a CEO, when you sit down with someone who has the job that you anticipate having someday, you're behind the wall. There are things that only they can share and tell you from their lived experience. Okay, so I would say being mentored gave me access to behind the wall. Now, after those types of experiences, and I kind of grew a little bit in my life and career, I ended up on the what we call pay it forward train. And so I got to mentor, and as I went into becoming a faculty member, I have students to this day that, still reach out to me and that I am mentoring. And it's not just about the educational journey. Sometimes it's just about life. And you take it seriously because you understand that what you do behind that wall in the other seat now can truly change the trajectory of someone's life. So that's what I would say about mentorship. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I love it. That's so special. So I wanted to ask, many women struggle with confidence in leadership roles. You just spoke about it. You have to get that behind the wall training. Okay. What strategies do you teach to help women step into their power?
This is going to come out a lot. Voice.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that I learned personally is owning your unique voice. And I say unique because we all have an approach in our speech and in our voice. And I think it's important not to assume when you step in a room that your voice has to either completely disintegrate and disappear, because there are louder, stronger voices in the room, that your voice has to completely shift because other voices sound different, and you want to appear educated and et cetera, et cetera. I think it's important if you have a powerful voice, strong voice, and people tend to immediately become offended because of your opinions and your beliefs, and you feel so strong in what you believe. I think it's important to have a balance with any of this, but not get to the point where you self-abandon who you are and your unique voice. And I think that voice goes along with presence. So I'm going to kind of act this out a little bit, although I'm not an actor. I don't like the screen. We've already established that. But let's as a teacher, let's put this in play, okay? So if I consider myself a new leader, and I love talking to rising leaders, new leader, I walk into a boardroom, it's a meeting getting ready to take place, and there's all these loud voices and dominating voices at the table, and my voice is, yeah, good morning. And then they ask you, oh, do you have any contributions to such and such topic? Well, I think that that's going to get you ran over immediately 100 times over, and your presence feels like, I don't know if I should be here, I'm afraid to say what I think, my shoulders are coming up in like, don't judge me, self-protection mode, and we have to own our presence. Does that mean you have to become something you're not? If you are soft-spoken, does that mean you have to become a person that overtalks, yells, puts your fist on the table to get your point across? Absolutely not. But it does mean own your posture, sit up straight. When you do talk, even if you have a lower tone and voice, speak with certainty and clarity. Don't use words consistently that make you sound unsure, such as, well, like, I was thinking that we could. Here is my approach. That is what I would encourage women to do, is own their unique voice. And if you are the woman that walks in the room and, I've seen this not so much with women to male audience in working environments, more so with women to women audiences, where you have a woman who projects strongly, loudly, in a very dominating tone. And that woman becomes labeled the aggressor, or she thinks she knows everything, or she's so loud and things of that nature. I think that self-awareness for both types of voices, the one that's shouldering and speaking softly, you have to have self-awareness you're doing that. Same thing, the dominating voice has to have self-awareness that they are maybe overpowering the other voices in the room. So you have to invite conversation from others and their perspectives and their ideas and be harmonious in your communication. But you can still be that strong, resilient, bold woman when you walk through the door, and they know I mean business. Nothing wrong with that. Be uniquely who you are.
Yes.
Be uniquely who you are. Just make sure that there's balance, that there's respect, and that you are approaching conversations in a way that invites collaboration. And I think that is what I would tell women that are struggling to, or have, confidence issues. A lot of times it's not 100% that I don't feel like I'm trained up enough to know all of this. I don't feel like I've had enough experiences. They presented a project before me and I don't know if I have all the resources to do it. All of that still falls back to your voice. If you don't have the resources, if you know how to own your voice, you know how to leverage those resources. You know who to call, you know what to say, and you know how to talk. Right. So I would sum that up to voice.
Yes, lovely. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So next we have, how do you balance authenticity and professionalism in spaces that may not always be welcoming or diverse?
Oh gosh, you got some good ones. You got some good ones. Okay, tell me that one again. Let me catch it.
Yes. How do you balance authenticity and professionalism in spaces that may not always be welcoming or diverse?
Sure. Yeah. This is a really good one. Authenticity and presence. I think number one, to remain authentic and own your presence. Again, voice could roll into this one too. But I think it is being aware of who's on the team, being aware of what's at stake, being aware of the community you serve. If I get caught up in my agenda, if I get caught up in the people in the room already sizing me up and making judgments about whether or not I am fit to do the job, then I end up fighting a battle that takes my eye off the prize. And so I'll use me, for example, in my career, so I can make this tangible. Yeah. If I step into a room to make decisions about our student body, if I make decisions about enrollments and things of that nature, and I step into a room full of very diverse personalities, And some people don't think you're doing the job right. They don't know if your decisions are sound. They don't know if you're going to run things into the ground, or they just have certain prejudices altogether and biases about you leading, especially as a female if you're dealing with, opposite sex. Or just women. Sometimes there's women who are just, intimidated or sizing you up for various reasons. And sometimes that could be, age discrimination. Sometimes that can be your achievements, and there's some envy or jealousy and things of that nature. There's so many different things I could call out as far as diverse groups, prejudices, biases, and walking a room and feeling like, am I going to fall into imposter syndrome or something like that? How do I remain authentic to who I am and that I deserve to be here? And I think that it's very important not to get focused on battling the personalities in the room. I think it's important not to focus on proving your point to each individual in the room. And that's going to expend energy if it's a diverse group. Because now I'm trying to prove to you and prove to you and prove to you.
Yeah.
And I spend all this energy doing that instead of keeping my eye on the prize. And with my example of work, the prize is what is best for the students.
Right.
The prize is they can hate me when I walk out of this room, so long as I know, God, I did my God-given purpose. Did I do what you called me to do today? Did I serve the greater good of the collective of who you've asked me to serve today? If I can walk out and I can feel like that, I don't have to worry about being persecuted for your good. And that's going to be biblical for me. So I think it's very important that authenticity, owning your presence when you're dealing with a diverse crowd, is that you hold true and firm to your values, your principles, and remember the greater good. Remember that humanistic level that we talked about. Why am I here?
I love it. Thank you. That was so great. So now I want to ask, what advice would you give to women who want to start their own business or consulting practice but feel uncertain about where to begin?
Great question. You have amazing questions. Yeah. So let's start here. I've seen a lot of people go for the passion. They're inspired to start something, but they may not have direction. And direction comes from your true purpose.
Yes.
If you marry yourself to work that's not truly authentic to yourself, if it's not authentic to your purpose in life, if you haven't discovered what your purpose is yet in life, then you may spend time researching for those who will research, or you may spend time just throwing the dart out there hoping it lands somewhere. Oh, I've started my website, girl. I've started my, Instagram page, girl. But then the idea keeps evolving every other week. And so the people you could have brought in as an audience, they're very confused at this point because you went from selling hair care to now I'm going to do nails, and from nails to I think I want to be a consultant for business leaders, and well, now I think I want to be a vacation rentals, owner. And listen, I'm not, attacking that. What I'm saying is, before you put that out in the public, do the necessary work behind the scenes with a coach, with a mentor, listen to channels like this so that you can really hone in on what is in here that really is your purpose. Not, I'm interested in a lot of different hobbies. We all have hobbies. There's lots of things that we all have talents and gifts that we could do. But out of all of those talents and gifts, there will be something that's innate to your God-given purpose in life. And I also believe that sometimes purpose can, intertwine a lot of those gifts. So for me, I got my bachelor's in graphic design. I don't consider myself to be a graphic designer, but that gift helps me do things within my business at a real basic level, enough for me to float by. And so I give that as an example just to say, I'm not saying that because you have various skill sets that they're not going to be used in that ultimate purpose. But I think I want women that are interested in getting started before you run and pay for an LLC and then somewhere down the line you've paid for 5 LLCs. Before you do that, be very clear, be very intentional about what it is that you feel you have to give to the world. If you don't do that, then you're just casting the net wide. You're out there trying to catch fish, but you have no strategy. And there has to be strategy behind what you're going to do and how you're going to build it.
Right. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now I want to ask, in your experience, what are the biggest barriers to women advancing in leadership and how can we break them down?
All right. The biggest barriers is, number one, how we define women's leadership. That one's near and dear to my heart, and it will forever be.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest barriers is how we're defining women in leadership. And I don't think we need to have a blanket answer for all women. We are unique. We were created uniquely. We are individuals. We are a part of all of humanity. We are a part of a community. But within that community, the community is strong because each of us has different gifts. So people don't get to put you in a box and tell you who you should be and how you should be it. You get to show up in that community and say, here's what I offer. Here's what I can bring to the table. Here's where I may have blind spots. But if I connect with Ashley and we partner, here's what we have the ability to do together. So, number one, be yourself. Do not conform. Do not make people make you feel like you have to conform. You can do it in a dress. You can do it in a suit. You can do it in jeans. You can do it in your leggings and sporty workout clothes. Now, it does need to match what it is you're offering the public. I don't know that I would be, calling myself a massage therapist, but then I'm coming in a 3-piece suit that may not translate to the audience I'm serving. But what I am saying is be yourself.
Yes.
Be yourself. And if you find yourself in spaces where you cannot be yourself, now we need to go back to the drawing board and we need to ask ourselves, where do I need to plug in? What community should I join as far as nonprofits or all these different things that speak to my core values? And if I don't feel like it exists, well, guess what? God has given me the assignment to create it. And so I would say one of the barriers is women feeling like they have to fit the mold of what society has told them is what it is to be a leader. Or a woman, for that example, nobody gets to define that but you. I think other barriers are, which I think we're breaking a lot of them today, have been roles that have been dominantly held by men, and women being able to break the ice through those layers. Now, and this is research I've done too, so you probably can read about it, but something else that is lesser known, everybody pretty much kind of knows about the glass ceiling, right? Where women have tried to break the glass ceiling to get up there where all the big guys are, the men. We've done that. We've gotten through that layer. Where we're still having some issues is balancing out salaries, which we're starting to get there. But what we're starting to see more of is what's called the glass cliff. Or the edge of the cliff, however you want to phrase that. But it's a cliff where we'll promote you, we'll allow you to take over in some leadership roles, but we're going to give you a situation that's at a dire need and end and crisis level where we don't know how to deal with the people who are going to be distraught and upset because we have to do layoffs, we have to cut people's jobs. And we don't want to deal with that. We don't feel like nurturing people through that process. So we tell you what, we'll put a woman in that role. She should be nurturing enough to coach people through laying off. She'll be soft enough to tell them you're going to lose your job. Here's your severance, whatever. And she will also be capable of handling the public failure because this situation is it's a lose-lose situation. So that department's going to close. Let's go ahead and promote this woman. She can handle it. And she's facing a draining tank. And the draining tank is that department, that business is already losing money. And so we're going to put her over there and tell her, congratulations. See, we believe in equality. We're going to promote a woman, but we've promoted her into something where she's going to have an uphill battle and it's a lose-lose situation. So I think where we're still battling some things is not promoting people, especially women, when, you know, it looks good for us to say tokenism, oh, look at us, we put the person in the role, but then there's an inability to actually value their skill sets in a way that's true promotion,
Right.
that's true expansion, and that is true leadership development. When we position women in leadership roles like that, we're not offering them leadership development. We're telling them, good luck, here's a life float, hope you can swim in a tsunami that they can't get out of. So I'm passionate about that too. I think we have to truly understand what fairness and equality mean and what giving someone a chance really means, because just because you promote someone to that doesn't mean you're giving a chance. If anything, it means that you've set them up for a failure.
You have shared some amazing gems, wisdom, and knowledge. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited about this episode. Now, before I ask our last question, I want to ask if you could tell us your platforms where people can find out information for you, sign up for consulting by you, sign up for coaching by you. Can you share your platforms with us?
Yeah, so I will share my website, which will be the best way to connect to all other spaces of WeSuite and get you connected to the community. And that's going to be www.wesuite.com. WeSuiteCo.com. Go there, subscribe to the website, keep in touch. And when I say subscribe, we don't send a whole lot of crazy emails at all. We know people don't care for that. And so that's the best way. And then, of course, you can follow me on Instagram at dr.dequies, Dequies. And you can find me on Instagram there. I do a lot of podcast sharing there, so you can watch the show. Of course, Ashley, we're going to connect with you there too and continue to share. But that's where you can find us. And I have some other stuff that we're doing that I would love to point you guys to. But let's start with the website. I think that's a good spot.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So our last official question, Dequies, is what's one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self when you were starting your journey?
So I said that I would probably speak about voice a lot, and this is going to be a part of that. And this is probably unique specifically to me, but it may help others out there. I was not the super bold voice, and I had to learn to appreciate the voice I had.
Right.
And when I say appreciate, it wasn't necessarily that I had an innate, I hate my voice. Now, when I started doing podcasting, different story, because when you hear yourself, you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's what I sound like.
Yeah.
But aside from that, just younger self, I didn't have an issue thinking I sounded poorly. It was more so just being the soft-spoken person and people assuming, and again, secret, I'm 5'2", and people thinking, oh, this little something girl, she did, you know, and then you go into your life, you start your career, and you start to work your way up to certain roles, and people don't think you're capable of being a leader or making decisions, or they think you're a pushover, or people have told me over time, you know, a soft, you know, healing tone. And so I've learned to own that. I've learned to own that my voice is beautiful, my voice is healing, and just because it's not projecting doesn't mean it doesn't hold power. And so I think that for me, what I would tell my younger self is don't get caught up in how the world places a projection on who you are, what rooms you deserve to be in, and what you're capable of doing in this world. You have a healing voice, and you will heal others through your voice. Keep talking. Something that I feel was very important with getting to know my voice is understanding where it came from, not just people projecting that, but sometimes when people project on you and it bothers you, that's usually because it's cutting at a space that you may feel like, why does that really feel like it resonates a little bit? Am I too shy? Am I too, not seen as a leader or things like that? And I learned to kind of peel back some layers to understand why what they said affected me in the first place.
Right.
And that is because I did have a tendency to kind of suppress my emotions a little bit. And I learned that through just some childhood things where I would just withdraw into myself and I wouldn't speak my needs and I wouldn't say how I felt. So I learned not only is my voice healing, but you have needs and you can state them. You're not going to cause a problem. You're not going to create disharmony with other people just because you have an opinion or you feel a certain way. Use your voice. And I learned that it was okay to speak my emotions. It was okay to say how I felt. And no one could tell me anything about my voice after that.
I love it. Thank you. So thank you so much for sharing. You have had one of my favorite episodes. You've shared so much wisdom, knowledge, and truths that women really need to hear. And you have resources with your platform that women can now go to. So thank you again for being a guest today. Before we go, I want to ask if there's anything else you would like to share with the audience on your episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that is very near and dear to my purpose. We talked a lot about purpose today. And although We Sweet started from community aspect to empower women, my coaching business is something that I do one-on-one. Okay. So I believe very big time in the community, and I talk about We Sweet as a community. But the one-on-one coaching is about healing and the stages of healing. And dominantly speaking, it focuses on childhood wounds as well as relationships. And so that can be romantic, or that can be, friendships, or growing up, mom, dad, sister, cousin, brother, all kinds of relationships. And I focus on it, and I focus on specifically what I call the heart wounds. And the coaching business is called Sacred Beginnings. And it's because I truly believe that when we as women heal, and for me, heal my voice, and heal my relationships and things of that nature. So of course it's built from my own personal journey. And I thought, what better way to pay it forward than to do this with women? And so one-on-one, I work with women to help them discover their healing journey, their heart wounds, so that they can lead a whole life feeling fulfilled, successful, and to avoid passing down some of that pain, that fear, and the things that we keep locked away, and the shame that we don't want to share. But the more we dive into the healing journey, and I use the Empowered High framework for that as well in the consulting business, but the more we dive into that, the more we're leading that authentic life that you talked about.
Yes. Thank you. Dequies, you're amazing. Thank you for being a guest. Everyone, please tune in, play this episode, share with your friends, like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else. Thank you again for coming. And we will see you all next time on All Things STEM with Ashley. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.